What is up, everybody? To Reverse TV today, and we're going to talk about one of the biggest fall-offs of this year, Helldivers 2. This is one of Sony's biggest multiplayer games of this year, because Sony is known for not having too many well-received multiplayer games. The biggest one they had was like The Last of Us or Uncharted that people played a lot, but other than that, they don't really succeed in multiplayer games. That's a first-party company. Major third-party games that really do well on PlayStation, like a Fortnite, Call of Duty, a Madden, or a FIFA. Those are the games that do very well on Sony multiplayer-wise. But they had Helldivers 2, which had an insane start. It went very viral. People were loving this game. Had a big buzz, but apparently Helldivers 2 has lost 90% of its players with no sign of recovery. So 90% of the player base just left the game, which is kind of... you kind of think that would happen over time. Like, there's more competition. People are going to go back to the status quo of games in their rotation. So, they couldn't have the success for a while, but kind of put Sony in that condition again. Like, people are leaving these games, and it's kind of like, what does Sony offer multiplayer-wise? So, it's kind of disappointing. So, especially with their different showcases, they have not really shown you what game you can play in the future. That's a big multiplayer focus. Concord, the game that people roasted, is their next up-and-coming multiplayer game, and that game looks like it's dead on arrival. It's getting the same treatment as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League guys, so that's not a good look. So once again, Sony's gonna be in a position where they have like no big multiplayer games first-party wise. It's gonna be relying on third-party games as usual. So another L from Sony yet again. And he says this isn't dealing with the whole PSN Lincoln drama that happened a while ago as well too. It has nothing to do with that. It's just people are just done with this game. The hype faded. People are done with it. I believe the same thing happened with Power World as well too. Like the Power World game, which was big on Xbox. People played other stuff, but apparently Power had an expansion that brought the players back up again. So it's kind of the same thing but different in a way. So this person says, yeah, I love the game, but it's still fighting bots and bugs on nearly the same planets with slightly different guns. I love the game, but for a live service, it's too shallow. Once I maxed out every ship upgrade, I had nothing to work towards. Yeah, so people were saying they're getting bored of the same thing over and over again. So, and that's kind of very telling that with these multiplayer games, only a few are gonna really stand out of the pack. You got the exceptions like Fortnite, Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden, maybe GTA Online when that game released for GTA 6. But a lot of these multiplayer games just flop. It's like they're trying to go with that live service, like continual revenue for these multiplayer games with DLC and skins or whatever. But a lot of these games are just going to flop. The industry has to be honest with this, especially like PlayStation. So it takes a lot of work to have these multiplayer games have a lasting community. People just stick with it. Because this is one of the biggest games that released this year that was multiplayer-wise, and it just fell off. Like, people aren't really playing this game like that on PlayStation, so it's just sad to see. But another L for Sony, ultimately, because they've put a big investment in these live service games, when it's like, most of them going to flop. And if this was their biggest, savior, their biggest hope, it still was not good enough, apparently. I thoroughly enjoyed Helldivers 2, but it got repetitive after a few weeks. My friends fell off playing it and lost all his fun after that. So yeah. If only it came to Xbox, I would have put it in my rotation. Yeah, they should have put it on Xbox. Like, it doesn't make any sense, especially for multiplayer games like this. That's a new IP at that. Well, not a new IP, but people weren't really checking for that first one like that. So, I would have put it on Xbox as well too. You at least have more players in the player base, and it's like because you have less players, it made it die off quicker. So for live service games, momentum is everything. Sony killed any, and now they need to pick it up again. Without an expansion or something, they won't. Yeah, that is kind of sad. Like, you need some new content to keep the thing going. So if they're not really releasing new content, I'm not surprised most people just dropped the game at that point. Makes sense. The time to create meaningful live service games has mostly passed. It would be like climbing a mountain if you're not already established in the games as a service space. I love the game, but the incremental updates and changes aren't enough to keep me hooked. A lot of people are saying the same sentiment, that it's not enough to keep them hooked to it. So, did Sony really blow? Did they really blow their momentum by not adding new content with this? Like, it seems like they got a good start, but they never like finish it or keep people on the hook, or keep people attached to it. So, what's the purpose of having a hit like this if you're not going to keep people attached to it? Like, sure, you get headlines that this game is super successful. If you got nothing that keeps people there, then why wouldn't they just go back to Fortnite or any other multiplayer game? So, Sony killed it big time. Another person says he's moving to another game. So the same sentiments of people moving on to other games is getting boring. They need new content. So yeah, Sony, it's not a good look for Sony and their future with these live service games. Because say what you will about Xbox, at least Xbox has the multiplayer games on point. They're at least on point with their multiplayer games. Like, even the biggest games on PlayStation right now is Grounded and Sea of Thieves, which are Xbox multiplayer games. So Xbox got that going for them. I mean, the crap Sony pulled aside from that, I hear there's not really a lot of truly new content in the game. I can only imagine that for many people it became repetitive and people lost interest. I imagine some sort of real big expansion or updates could help it. How long do you think people are going to wait for even when that big expansion comes out? People drop that game like a bad habit. Like, that game is over. It's over. That hype is dead and died at this point in time. I guess maintaining a successful live service title is harder than we think. Yeah, and they're supposed to be making more of these live service games. Wrap it up. They need to stick with their bread and butter because this multiplayer stuff is not working. Unless maybe they just copied Nintendo's formula. Maybe it's just making like a PlayStation Mario Kart or something. I don't know, because their multiplayer games just die quickly. It's just not even comparable. They're literally like in the last place if you compare like multiplayer games, first party ones at that, the big three. They're literally last place when it goes to multiplayer games. Which is crazy because they upped the prices of that PS Plus service, which you need to have to play online games. So I'm like, you're paying for the online just to play third party games pretty much, because their first party games are non-existent multiplayer wise. So I've never seen a community eat itself alive over something as small as making another account before. PC gamers' extreme overreactions to having... Okay. Once again, this isn't just because of that whole controversy with the account signing. This is way deeper than that. Like, people didn't just leave because of that situation. People are leaving because it's repetitive and boring. Like, most of the comments said they left because the game has nothing else to keep you attached to it. So, good try with that excuse, but people are done with this because they said it's boring. They didn't give a major update. There's no attachment. There's no reason to keep going with this game. So, Sony really had a hit fall into their laps, and they reduced it to a flash in the pan in like a single business quarter. Yeah, that's one of the biggest fall-offs I've seen by far, which is crazy. Who the F cares? I mean, people who are looking towards live service games on PlayStation, who want to play multiplayer games on PlayStation, I would think this is very telling, because most of their games flop, like Foam Stars, like Destruction All Stars. They have a history of flopping multiplayer games this generation, and then their future is going big hard on these live service games. So I think people should care about this. Like, you saying who the F cares? I think people should care that PlayStation has no good track record with these multiplayer games. And I was like, why are you paying more for the online service if their multiplayer games are just trash? Or they're dying off very quickly. So, what are you talking about? People should care about this. And I am one of them. Good job, you apes at Sony. Wow. No new content, unnecessary nerfs will do that. It was bound to happen. They have had some missteps. Lots of content for other games are releasing as well. So yeah, people were pretty much saying the same sentiment, that they didn't keep people attached to this game right here. They weren't really trying. It's like, hey, they didn't release any new content, so people just left. So it's sad to see. So definitely want to see your thoughts down below about this. Leave a like if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and peace.